Amen. Please join me with the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Y'all have a seat. I'll officially call the meeting to order. Next is the approval of the agenda, but I would like to make one adjustment to the agenda under discussion E, policy compliance. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
Motion to approve the amended agenda.
All those in favor, do I have a second? Thank you. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We're good. Public comments. Pam, do we have anybody? Okay. We'll just skip by that one. Consent agenda. Consent agenda tonight is the approval of regular session minutes from the September 22nd, 2025 meeting.
Motion to approve.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And we're good. Discussion agenda, discussion of 5-year data trends, school profiles, and improvement plans. Ms. Kane.
Good evening, Board. So tonight we have some data, additional data to share with you. It will be some of the things that you have already seen in the past with some additional graphs. And then we have our wonderful schools here that are going to be also presenting their data from their individual schools tonight. So before we get started, we're going to look at some of the trend data and some of the performance pieces just as clarification about how they calculate the school performance grades to give some clarification. The first slide that you see here is the calculation of the school performance grades. There are two pieces that are involved. You have your proficiency piece, which is 80%, and you have your growth academic piece, which is 20%, for a total of 100% to involve the calculation for school performance grades. These are used on a scale, and they are converted to a 100-point scale that you can see below there on the slide. You have your A, your B, C, D, and then your F. So these are the components in elementary and middle school for school performance grade. The proficiency piece, or the academic part, includes the EOG reading, EOG math, EOG science, and then English learner progress. The growth piece, which is the 20%, includes your reading, math, and science combined. Your school performance grade for high school is listed above. You have your achievement and your growth. The proficiency piece for high school includes the EOC Math, EOC English 2, the 4-year cohort graduation rate, your English learner progress, EOC Biology, your ACT Work Keys score, and then your math course rigor. Growth is involved with your reading and math combined. On your next slide here, this is an actual calculation of how they would put the school performance grade together. So if the achievement, which is the proficiency score, were a 64.4, that would get multiplied by 80% because it counts for 80% of the score for a final of 51.5. The growth, standard growth of 100, for just an example, would be multiplied by 0.2 or 20% for a 20. And those two input scores are added together to get you your final score, which calculates and performs for your school performance grade. These are rounded to the nearest whole number, even if there is a decimal point. One of the pieces that you all had asked us about too was comparison data about what is considered adequate yearly progress. And what they consider growth met for the year is from -2 to +2. And so we did a comparison for you. You can see in the 23-24 school year, this is North Carolina's grade for the number of schools that met growth from -2 to +2. And you see there were 1,146 students in that met growth status. So as clarification, that graph or the net is recalculated every year based on the cohort of students that are within North Carolina that test that year. And so on the next slide, you see our 24-25, and you can see it's about the same number of students that are in that -2 to that +2 area. Up next, we're going to take a look at the school performance grade, and I just wanted to clarify, this is a 4-year trend. Our school performance grade does not go back beyond 4 years before COVID. There were 2 school years, the 2021 school year and the 1920 school year, that were considered our COVID years, and there was no school performance grade calculated those years. To add another point of growth would take us beyond and behind COVID, so that data is not very accurate when we're comparing the schools for the last 4 years. So as you can see here, what we took is the 4-year trend, and you can see it by each elementary school, and the school performance grade scale is actually in the bottom corner there for you to see, and you can see how the trends have changed over the last 4 years for each school. This is our elementary growth for the last 4 years, and so you can see the progress and how the growth has changed. And all of this data came from the original chart that was shared with you when we looked at our data before. We also wanted to include that, so if you wanted to see the actual numbers. It gets a little messy when you start putting numbers on graphs that are real small, so if you want to compare, tear that one out and put it right beside your graph. Up next is our proficiency data. This is our 3rd grade through 5th grade proficiency data for the last 4 years so that you can compare them side by side. Reading, math, and science. And all of that information is from the original chart that showed our trends for grades 3 through 5.
And just for clarification on this, is this all the elementaries combined?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
It sure is. That is Stokes County Schools.
Okay.
Up next, we have our middle school performance grades over the last 4 years. So you can see our middle school data, how the trends have changed over the last 4 years, and your school performance scale in the bottom corner. Your middle school growth is listed on your next graph there, and how the growth has changed in our middle school data over the last 4 years. And all of this data is taken from the school performance chart that was in our original accountability presentation. Up next is our proficiency data for Stokes County Schools for the middle schools. This is our 6th grade, 7th grade, and 8th grade reading, our 6th, 7th, and 8th grade math, and our 8th grade science for middle schools over the last 4 years. Same county trend data that we had previously looked at, that will match the numbers up for the previous graph. Next, you'll have your graphs for your high school performance grade for the last 4-year trend. And you can see our high schools listed there with the school performance scale listed in the corner. And then our 4-year growth trend for our high schools. And the corresponding data that matches that. Up next is our high school proficiency data. These are the components that build the school performance grade, and so you can see how they have actively been for Stokes County Schools over the last 4 years. And then the chart representational there is of the school performance.
Could you go back to that one for a second? I just want to like a quick
Yes, sir.
No, right there.
One more back.
No, that one.
Thank you.
And Board, before we jump into our school level data trend presentations and action plans, I want to give you a brief overview of steps we're taking here at our office to support schools and student achievement. So a couple of things. One is we have aligned all of our professional development this year for our administrators around the executive standards that administrators are evaluated on each year. That includes instructional leadership as well as managerial, human resource, external development, and several others. There are 7 standards that principals are evaluated on. And so we are really paying close attention to align the work we're doing here to the executive standards that principals are evaluated on. The other thing that we have implemented is the school profile visits. You can see the slide that's up currently has an example or a template of an elementary and then a high school profile plan. And so one thing that was really important having 17 schools is to ask ourselves, how can we better understand the needs at each of the 17 schools, how principals and admin teams are differentiating support for teachers, how they're differentiating support for students, what professional development that they plan on offering at their school this year, and then just a general overview of data trends and then their goals that correspond. And so we ask all schools to complete a profile sheet. You can see we look at trend data, subgroup data, EVOS data when it comes to teacher performance, et cetera. And so our curriculum team has visited with each 17 principals and has had a really great conversation about their plans. We've asked a lot of good questions. I've gotten a lot of good responses. And our goal is to use that as an accountability tool moving forward this year to make sure that not only they're supporting their teachers appropriately, but we're supporting them appropriately as well. And so I wanted to go over that and the purpose of these visits prior to principals presenting their respective portion.
Okay, and now we're going to have our schools present, and we'll start with Chestnut Grove.
All right, good evening, Board. I know you have already seen the numbers there just to see the actual school grade. I'll get them to go ahead and advance forward so we can talk a little bit more about the plan beyond the numbers. All right, so we took a multi-pronged approach to this. First and foremost, I wanted to look at the core instruction that we have for our students, what's happening in the classrooms for every single student that is there. And we're at the point now, as a staff, that we can be very honest with each other. And they are comfortable receiving feedback from our administrative team, just as we're comfortable receiving feedback from our curriculum team. One of the first things that we did, I asked the staff to all do their self-assessment and to identify their greatest opportunity for growth. And we looked at that and talked about their greatest method to improve, and they wrote their PDPs based on that. Then we looked at the data, and we have graciously received some hours from the Education Resource Group that we can use to train staff members. When we went through, we noticed some things with our ELA where it wasn't quite coming out where we wanted it to be. So Dr. Amy Nail came and did some walkthroughs with me, and we are doing training on the morning of October 17th with the Education Resource Group to go over learning targets with our ELA. To make sure that we are matching the standards within the instruction there. We have also received from Ms. Flippin extra time with Mr. Erskine to work through some of our math goals and go over things there. So the first part of it, when I talk about core instruction, is how we are improving our teachers and helping them to meet their greatest opportunities for growth. And that's what you see under my second goal there. The very first goal, which is the one that's on the screen right now, is talking about MTSS and the processes that we have there. Last year, as we were finishing out the school year, we modified the schedule and closed out the day with intervention. When we mess up the schedule, it kind of throws everything into havoc. So what we wanted to do was keep our same schedule, and we utilize our elective time, but we share that. So, for example, our 6th grade during 6-1 will receive an intervention time, and during 6-2, that will happen every 9 weeks. That's just an opportunity for us to do some makeup work and to meet specific goals that the teachers have identified for those students based on the data warehouse that we have created for them. So I made sure that our teachers have the data to make the decisions, and then we built in time for them to work with those students who need extra help. And then the last goal that we have put down was just to increase the effectiveness of MTSS, our multi-tiered system of supports. We are meeting with our parents and with our students who are struggling. We are giving continuous feedback to our teachers on how that is going. They're receiving the data to make these decisions. And then we're looking at the students' performance over time. And if we need to modify what we're doing and modify the support, we do that. Also, we're trying to be extremely consistent in our discipline practices and our enforcement. And then we're contacting our parents when we have continuous absence from our students. So we're trying to address all the problems with the attendance, with the discipline, and we are seeing improvement definitely in those areas. Academically, we're giving the teachers the tools that they need to improve, and we're building in the time for our students to grow and get the specific needs met that they have. So that's just kind of, in a nutshell, what we are doing this year. I'll open it up for any questions from our board members.
Ms. Bennett?
I just thank you for putting all your hard work into it and trying to figure out the problem. I don't have any questions this time.
Mr. Robertson?
Not really questions. It looks like, to me, like a good plan, and I do like seeing, trying to have more parent involvement. I think that's important, and I like seeing that on your plan. So I know you've been doing a good job in getting the school. I hear it from the community, how the school's improving, and especially with discipline. And I think you've done a good job. So just keep it up and you know, improve your academic part of it. And I think get it on level with the rest of it, and you'll be great. So
Thank you, sir.
I know it's a process, but I think you're doing good.
Mr. Duncan?
I appreciate you presenting, and I got a few questions. You mentioned something about, and I didn't hear it, I didn't understand it maybe, an education that's being offered that you got from somewhere, an outside vendor.
So our schools have the opportunity to utilize 6 hours with Dr. Nell, who is with Education Resource Group.
Okay.
And we recognized a need in our school within ELA. You will see a discrepancy in our numbers when it comes to ELA and math.
Right.
So she and I did some walkthroughs, and we have identified, I think, a real opportunity for growth. And on October 17th, she's coming. I'm going to get some coverage for our ELA teachers, and we're all going to pull and work together that day to look at learning targets and how we best address those with our instruction.
I can provide a little bit of context in that too. So we have, as you know, received grant funding from Duke Energy the past several years, and so it might be me, I'm not sure. And so those funds have been used to provide professional development for our schools. And so this year, 6 hours have been given to each school for professional development with a group like ERG.
Okay, that was my next question. Was it available to all
Yes,
the
so
schools?
all
'Cause
schools have that.
I see some other middle schools that, I mean, I just want to make sure it was consistent across the county. I do appreciate the parent involvement. You know, I think it does take parent involvement to make this a success, not just, and I think I don't want to get lost in graphs and numbers, because there's a child associated all of this, right? And so I see, you know, looking back over the last 4 years, I mean, it's pretty much consistent. I mean, you brought it from not meeting to I think what it exceeded last year looked like, but
We did exceed substantially last year, and then this year, when you look at the growth number, it's a 1.85. 2 would be exceeds.
gotcha.
So we're close.
Absolutely, yes. I appreciate the work, and as it's been mentioned already, I mean, certainly the community it sees that, so thank you for that.
Yeah.
That's
Thank
all
you
I've
all.
got right now.
All right. Any other questions?
No, I mean, the one thing I want to say is great job on righting the ship.
and getting the environment where people are free to admit what they don't know and cohort together. You've created a great environment over there, and yes, they're a little off, and you've known me enough, I'm a numbers guy. But the trend is there. And I want to applaud you and your whole staff for what you've done.
No,
Thank you.
thank you. It's a very talented staff. All right. Thank you all.
Board, up next, we have Nancy Reynolds.
Good evening, Board. If you would, fast forward to, thank you. At Nancy Reynolds, we're focused on ensuring that every child receives high-quality instruction to meet their individual needs. And this year, our goals are centered on 3 key areas: instructional practices, tiered support systems, and social-emotional learning. First, with goal A106, all teachers are providing sound instruction in a variety of modes. So that's whole class, small group, individual, and computer-based. Alongside this goal, A401 emphasizes a strong tiered instructional system that allows us to deliver evidence-based instruction tailored to students across all levels. And one critical way we are putting that into action this year is through the addition of a Fun Plus block for grades K through 3. This added daily block provides targeted instruction and practice with foundational reading skills, ensuring that every student, whether they need remediation, reinforcement, or enrichment, receives the right level of support. And we have changed our master schedule around. We are now utilizing teachers and our instructional assistants to work side by side to provide whole class and small group instruction in a variety of modes, fully aligning with both of our goals that I previously mentioned. And the end result is what our teachers have added on their PDPs. We want to see an increase in the percentage of students performing at or above benchmark on the end-of-year DIBELS measures. And we are hopeful and confident that that Fun Plus block is going to do just that. In grades 4th and 5th, our focus is on the consistent use of common formative assessments to guide our instructional decisions. We have a lot of tools in the county, a lot of programs such as Reveal Math, MyView, and we are using these programs to give us real-time data to monitor the type of instruction that our kids are getting to ensure that they are receiving that grade level mastery before we move on. Again, this goal also directly supports our school improvement goals. Finally, we are committed to addressing the whole child through goal A405. If you want to go to the next slide. This goal focuses on social skills, relationships, and responsibility. This year, we revised, completely changed our Nancy Reynolds behavior matrix and pledge. We are focused on core values of focus, integrity, responsibility, and effort, which spells out FIRE. These expectations help us build positive, respectful, and supportive school environment for all students. And I found this to be very beneficial and important, especially now, having gained roughly 80 students since I came to right now. We got a lot from Lawsonville. We had a lot transfer in. So kind of revisiting our behavior expectations has been a step in the right direction to limit behaviors and also just reinforce what we expect of our students. In closing, our school improvement goals, instructional practices, and our behavior initiatives work hand in hand to ensure that our students are growing both academically and socially. I'm proud to share that in 3 of the last 4 years, Nancy Reynolds has either held the top spot or tied for the top spot in grade level proficiency among all Stokes County elementary schools. That's a reflection of the hard work from our teachers and our students. Again, we are committed to educating the whole child, and we are excited about the progress we're making towards that mission. Be happy to answer any questions at this time.
Me first.
Wait.
Of course. I like that it's individualized for each student, and I also commend you because, like you said, incorporating 80 new kids, whole different atmosphere, a great one, but different teachers, all the above, and I think y'all have done a good job making everybody feel at home, which is also going to lead to better improvement in these areas as well.
Thank you.
Yeah. That's it.
Mr. Robertson?
No real questions, just congratulations on what you've been able to achieve with the consolidation and bringing in the new kids, and like Ms. Bennett said, making it a good family atmosphere. I hear that from the people there, and I know it was quite the undertaking, quite the task, but you've done a good job with it, and we look to see Nancy Reynolds improve quite a bit in the future. So you're doing good. Keep it up.
Mr. Duncan?
Yes, I like the Fun Plus, so that's new this year,
It is.
as well as the fire, that behavior matrix.
Yeah, we used to be Roar, and I got to thinking, dragons don't really roar, they kind of breathe fire, so we took that and ran with it, implemented a new kind of a motto, and, you know, we've repeated every day, so kids are exposed to it multiple times, and it's kind of just, that's our new thing, so it's been good.
And as far as the consolidation was mentioned, you know, acclimation, all of those things, how is that?
It's going well. Like Mr. Robertson said, new teachers, new students, you kind of got to get to know each other a little bit before you can really start to make a big impact. But we, you know, our students, they get out of the cars in the morning, ready to come to school. They get off the bus. I see a lot of smiling kids, and teachers are, I hope, are pretty happy. I feel like we're moving in the right direction. And, you know, despite having added a large number of teachers and students in the last year.
I'm looking at, and every year you've met growth, right?
Correct.
But I'm looking at the trend, and I don't, am I missing something here? If you go to the graph,
Yeah, so the last 2 years,
yeah,
we're below the trend line, if you will.
yeah,
We're still in the median growth category, like Ms. Kane said, from -2 to +2. You're doing what you're supposed to be doing.
right.
Do we want to get above that? Absolutely. I think it is a result of inheriting new students, new teachers. The last couple of years, we've received teachers after the year has started, which we're very appreciative of.
Right.
But it slowed our start of the year down. Last year, especially in fourth grade, we didn't have a full-time, highly qualified teacher until the mid-year point,
Okay.
which makes things difficult to achieve proficiency. Again, we're very happy that we were given that teacher. Our numbers warranted adding that position. But I do think that's played a part in some of that data.
Well, stuff like that is exactly what we need to hear, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm looking at the last four, just on this, the growth, and below as far as the line, I mean, I guess you're still within that range, but
Yeah.
that makes sense.
Growth is 20% of
Yeah.
your school performance grade and 80% proficiency.
Yeah,
So, like I said, three of the last 4 years, we've been at the top, so I'm very happy with that.
yeah,
I think part of our Fun Plus plan is going to help some of that growth. It's a long-term plan. I think we start with the lower grades, building those foundational reading skills to where when they get to become third, fourth, fifth grade, they've got better fluency, which is going to lead to better comprehension, which is going to lead to better data.
Is that Fun Plus just at Nancy Reynolds, or is that something unique to y'all?
It's at 2 schools right now.
Okay.
We're piloting it at 2 schools right now.
Very good, all right. I appreciate your work and this plan here, though. Thank you, that's it.
Boy, if I got, only in math could we do this. The score is down 9, but the line shows you closer to the median, and this isn't a knock on you, this is just the process is so, it's almost like trying to learn Common Core again after taking calculus in high school. 3 out of 4, do you feel like the whole integration of a new student body, new teachers and everything else kind of caused that little
That to
hiccup?
stop?
That hiccup?
Well, I think so. I mean,
Yeah, I mean, you had such positive trends.
yeah.
And these aren't these, don't take that as being negative. I'm extremely happy with Nancy Reynolds.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I do think that it's a combination of several things. Growing pains for one. I mean, anytime you take on that many students to a new school, it's gonna slow your progress down. You got to get to know the kids, get to know how they learn. A lot of things play into that. And then again, with adding teachers late in the year, it throws a wrench in it, and it makes it very difficult to, make sure that you're targeting all standards, that you're, getting kids what they need. But like I said, we're clicking on all cylinders. I feel like our teachers are, just 2 weeks ago, we added a 4th grade teacher. So it's been another slow start, but we're all systems go and looking forward to an increase in that.
Okay, great. Last question, and I forgot to ask you, Mr. Rose, what can we do to help?
Nothing.
I'm going to ask every one of y'all, so if I forget, just say, here's what I need.
I appreciate you guys always coming to me. I feel like I know where I stand with each of you. I enjoy seeing you guys in the building. But as far as the support, I would ask that you keep coming by, drop in, see the things that we're doing, provide any feedback that you wish. I'm always willing to accept it and try to take it and go with it. But I appreciate the job that you guys all do, and I would welcome you to come into our school anytime.
If you need more than just a visit, just ask. We're here to help.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Board, up next, we have North Stokes.
Who needs no introduction, right?
Good evening. I want to start off by saying for our growth last year, which we hadn't had in the past, we met growth in the areas of all of our AIG students, our Math 3, our Math 1, and our biology all met growth, which was a huge improvement for us. After taking over at North Stokes last year, we had to build a culture around the atmosphere and what we needed to accomplish. And we had a lot of buy-in with a common goal throughout the school, which was to increase our growth index, to increase all of our scores. And then we had a lot of turnover. We had a lot of change. So we're rebuilding that as we go into this year. But you can see English 2 is our weakest area that we had as far as the data trends are concerned. So that is a school-wide goal that we have been working with every teacher in the building, from CTE to ag to biology. Everybody's incorporating a literacy component within their lessons for the week. And we go by, the teachers are required to turn in a weekly lesson guide, and that component has to be put in to what they are doing in their classrooms, and they turn those in on Friday. And then we go through the classrooms and we look for that when we do our walkthroughs. And we've had a lot of success with that thus far. We did increase our school overall grade. We didn't reach the point that we wanted to get to, but our letter grade is still a C, but it went from a 59 to a 64. So we celebrated those successes with our staff. Also, our attendance was a big issue going into last year. And for the school year, we did maintain a 94% attendance rate. I checked that last week when we did perfect attendance again, and we're at 94.4 for August and September of this year. So we've reached out to our students that were not coming to school regularly. We've worked out stuff with their parents. We've set up contracts with them. Those students are not, they're not habitually not coming to school now. So, our firm belief is if we have them in the building, then we can teach them what we need to teach them. And that's worked out extremely well for us. Discipline throughout the school has stayed consistent. We have a culture and a climate there now of respect, and everybody understands where we stand as administration and also the teachers when they're in the classroom. So we've done a good job with building relationships with the community. We've done a good job within our building. Our teachers have 100% buy-in on our philosophy of increasing our English 2 component this year. We've had a lot of meetings on that. We just started the IXL that everybody did as a screener, and we'll use that data when we have our next MTSS PLC meeting to get a baseline score of where our literacy levels are at. And every teacher will know the literacy levels, whether it's, like I say, whether it's biology or computers. We need to know where that literacy level is at so we can use that to increase reading stamina, comprehension, all the components that go into it. Also, we are implementing what's a flex period this year. It will start October 22nd. our flex period will be from 11 to 11:25, and that's 2 days a week. And that flex period is a focus on a literary component. We have groups set up for enrichment for the students that are our higher flyers, because we feel like we need to continue to grow those as well. And also, it's a time for remediation and interventions for students who need to be caught back up or who need just a little extra practice. So that will start up on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and then we'll do it every day for 2 weeks prior to taking EOCs at the end of semester 1 and semester 2. We've also arranged with Dr. Amy Neal to come in. Excuse me. Our focus is rigor. We need a larger rigor. We need better rigor in the classroom, and also we stress bell-to-bell instruction. We've seen a huge improvement in our bell-to-bell instruction, the activities that are being taken place in the classrooms. You know, the teachers have done an excellent job buying into the expectation and fulfilling what we've been asking them to do. So I'm very, very proud and very pleased with that. We will support our teachers, again, with Amy Neal. We have our professional development plan that was tied in with our profile, and we focus on a different component at each one of our SIT meetings and also our staff meetings. This past staff meeting, we focused on classroom management, and we have a 20-minute PD every time we have a staff meeting on a different component. And we started off with Infinite Campus, make sure everybody was squared away on that. And then we discussed classroom management. We got a lot of feedback from our teachers, and then we'll continue on with those as we continue through the school year. We do our walkthroughs each and every week, and we give those teachers timely feedback on that. And then we recognize our teachers anytime there's success. Success story we had today, we had one of our English teachers that's got some criticism last year. She's doing a phenomenal job this year, and she actually told us that she took the criticism, even though she didn't like to hear it, she took the criticism to heart and doing an outstanding job this year. So I feel like we're on the right track in the direction that we're headed. I feel like the culture, the climate, I feel like the work ethic is there, and I look to see us improve on our scores as this year completes. So, any questions?
Ms. Bennett?
I don't think so. I mean, do you think the English struggling, like, are they relying too much on, has it become too easy with AI stuff, or is it just hard to say?
Just to be perfectly honest, I feel like we have teachers in place now with changes of our master schedule and some of our personnel. I feel like now our English is going to improve. I think the instruction has gotten to the quality where it needs to be.
Awesome. Yeah, and I like that, you're, like you said, that flex period and focusing on what they need to work on, and I think that's great. And obviously not, like you said, even though the ones are excelling, continuing to help them as well.
Yes, that's one of our major focus points, is to grow the ones that are
Absolutely.
being very successful already.
Thank you.
Mr. Robertson?
I like the fact that you're doing the attendance. I think you're exactly right. If the student's not in the seat, it's hard to learn, right? If they're out at home or out riding around or doing whatever, they're not hearing their teacher, and they're not getting that education or that instruction. So I do like that, and I like the positive reinforcement you're giving to your teachers.
Yes.
I think you're exactly right. It's building a good culture. They're happier. I would think they'd be happier, and they like it, and they're enjoying their work. Just like you said, the teacher that had took some criticism, took it to heart, and turned it around, and is doing good. And I think that's a big part of it. If the students are happy and they're feeling good about things, they're going to learn better. And I can see that you are building a good culture. Not that the school didn't already have that, but I think you putting your stamp on that and your personality to that really makes a big difference, and I'm sure it's going to help the school. So keep it up, and I agree with Chairman Rogers. Anything not only you but anybody needs. If we don't know about it, it's hard for us to help. So I hope everybody takes that to heart, and if they need something at their school, do come to us and ask for it.
Yes, sir.
Good job, keep it up.
Thank you.
Mr. Duncan?
So I'm assuming you've done this in the past with these action plans. What's one new thing that you've tried this year?
The new thing? So the new thing for me is going to be the flex period. The flex period, implementing that on the high school level. We've done some on the middle school level, but on the high school level, and coordinating that with every teacher on board, I'm excited about it, because I feel like it's going to give all of our teachers a chance to use their strengths with students that they may not have taught at all.
Right.
So I'm excited about the flex period, and I think that putting this in part of our plan we're going to see a huge success from that.
That's good. I appreciate the work on it. That 100% teacher retention, that's a very high goal. So,
It's a lofty goal, but if they don't retire, we hope to have them back.
well, I think consistency's on that's key, right? I mean, I think as you build momentum, and so part of, and y'all correct me if I'm wrong, but I know on one of the scores, I think it's the growth, maybe it's graduation rate. Is that right, or is that?
Yes, that's
is
part
it
of our, the four-year cohort graduation rate.
Yeah, I don't think it's in this. I know we went through it the last meeting. I'm looking.
Ours was 93%.
Yeah, okay. I thought it was, yeah, okay.
Mhm.
Very good. Well, I appreciate the work you're doing.
Thank you, sir.
A couple of things, Mr. Vernon. Wow. It's so impressive when we hear, let's try something new, because what we were doing wasn't working. And that I applaud. The literacy component, tying our strength into every classroom, that's a huge undertaking, and I applaud. If it was your idea, take full credit. If it was the team's idea, they did a marvelous job, as
And I have a
well
good
as the
team.
flex period. You have proved of us to everybody that you are where you need to be, brother.
Thank you, sir.
Just keep full, if you need anything, you know where we're at,
Thank you.
you know how to get in touch with us.
And I like Mr. Richards said, I invite you to come in anytime, because there's no such thing as bad feedback. And if you see something that, hey, why are you doing this? I'd be glad to talk about it. And if we need to adjust, we can.
Thank you for everything.
Thank you, guys.
Board, up next we have Pinnacle.
Do you feel like you're in the Academy Awards?
I'm dancing tonight.
Good evening. I've not had the opportunity to meet you all, but I'm Susan Sprinkle, and I'm from Pinnacle. I've been at Pinnacle for the last 7 years, so I own all of this data, and I'm very proud of where we've come.
As you should
in my
be.
time there. It's not a Susan Sprinkle thing, it's a Pinnacle staff thing. We've had very little turnover in the time I've been there. This year, we've had 0 turnover, which is amazing. I've got a very loyal staff. They're very committed, and they do an amazing job. So I speak on behalf of them. So I'll get started. I shared all this information with Dr. Rice and Anna and the rest of the curriculum team a while back, but I'm proud to share it with you guys, our priorities and goals for the upcoming school year. Our test scores and our trend data for school performance and for growth is not just a 3-5 thing, correct? It's K, well, it's really pre-K 5 for Pinnacle, because we have pre-K. We really focus on what we can do the minute our students walk through the door, whether that be pre-K or in kindergarten. So our priorities for this year for kindergarten and first grade are going to be to continue to incorporate more letter naming practice during our core instruction. We just started our MTSS process and looking at students that potentially need to be in Tier 2 that didn't really perform where we thought that maybe they should on our first round of dibbles this year. For second grade, we're going to continue consistent use of connected text during foundations. And didn't get to include this because I did this before I had these meetings, but last week I met with all K2 teachers and we came up with a plan to incorporate our specialists at Pinnacle doing some interventions with students first thing in the morning before they start their specials rotations for the day to help us make sure that we're doing these goals to get our kids where they need to be. For third, fourth, and fifth grade, we're looking at increasing stamina with our students and also looking at reading comprehension. Over the last couple years, we've seen a steady increase in our reading proficiency. Our growth is pretty solid, but we have seen increases in our proficiency. But how can we ensure that we are using the resources that we've been provided, whether that be MyView, whether that be Dibbles, whether that be whatever other programs we have, StoryWorks? How can we use those, make sure that we are engaging our students, we're still teaching our standards to continue to see growth? To align with those goals, our professional development that we're going to be offering our teachers for this year, Brooke Johnson's going to continue to come to Pinnacle the first Tuesday of every month to do PD with our teachers. Last month, she did PD on Canvas and how our students and teachers can access Canvas and make sure all of our programs that we're using, whether that be iExcel, MyView, whatever we're doing, making sure it runs properly through those channels and making sure our teachers have those set up so that in case we have a remote learning day, everything's in Canvas like it needs to be. Dr. Amy Nell is also going to come. We have her scheduled for November 18th to do professional development for us on student engagement. We will also schedule another time for her to come out in the spring. We wanted to wait until our middle of the year data is kind of set to see where we are, to see what we think we're going to need at that point. And then Keisha Rice has already helped me. Amanda Brown has helped me. We're working on stamina. As I said, that's a priority for third, fourth, and fifth grade. So what can we do in PLCs to reinforce stamina for our students? As far as our school improvement plan and priorities for our school improvement plan, looking at prioritize improvement and communicate its urgency. Urgency is a big thing. Instructional teams will meet regularly to review implementation of effective practices and student progress. A leadership team consisting of me, teachers who lead the instructional teams, and other professional staff meet regularly to review implementation. We do that in PLCs. We do that in our school improvement team meetings. We do that in MTSS core behavior meetings. We have those once a month as well, where we talk about behavior of our students and really trying to be proactive and be more positive about our behavior. And then finally, practice 3A, we're going to diagnose and respond to student learning needs. Instructional teams use student learning data to identify students in need of instructional support. And like I said, we just started that process last week during PLCs, talking about students that need to be, or potentially may need to be in Tier 2, potentially Tier 3. I invite you all to come to Pinnacle anytime you like and see what we have going on there. I think we have a great school culture and climate there. I'll warn you, you'll get lots of hugs if you come, so that's a big thing at Pinnacle. So, but you're all welcome to come at any time and see what's going on. Any questions?
Ms. Bennett?
I don't have any questions, but it sounds like, I mean, it's a great plan, you know,
Thank you.
utilizing everything you can, throwing it all in there, so thank you for your hard work.
Sure.
Ms. Robertson?
No real questions. You know, we're setting up here and, you know, I don't feel sometimes like it's my place to tell y'all what to do because y'all are the ones that are educated and educating our kids and leading our schools. And I really believe that every one of you do a great job.
Thank you.
And I think we're very fortunate to have every one of you sit in this room tonight leading our schools. And, you know, we were just all in Pinnacle Elementary here a month or so ago, and I got to, you know, witness firsthand all the smiles and the hugs and all the happy kids and teachers and staff, and we had, you know, great feedback, and we know it truly is a special place, and that you've done a really good job. So just keep it up, and whatever we can do to help, let us know.
Thank you.
Yeah, I appreciate you being here tonight and looking at I mean, it's certainly an upward trend. I like a few words that stuck out to me was, you know, consistency, right? And then obviously what you're doing is working, but then you're still looking at ways to innovate and take it to the next level. So I thank you for doing that. And every time we've been there, it's always been a great visit. So thank you for your leadership.
The one consistent thing has been the growth, the improvement. That's what
I'm
I
proud of that.
That's what I love. So, I mean, there's several of the schools that have shown that. You're up there with any of them. And the fact you're not just sitting on your laurels, let's try things to make it even better. So we'll get 5 years because COVID's behind us. We're not using that anymore. So thanks for everything you're doing. What can we do to help?
I think I'm good.
Well, don't look at him. Look at us.
I am.
Yeah.
I am.
Okay.
I think I'm good.
All right.
Come visit.
Okay.
Thank you all.
Thanks.
Board, up next is Walnut Cove.
Good evening, Board. Thank you for having us here tonight to take the opportunity to speak with you about our school improvement plans and the key takeaways from the data that has been shared with you already. Taking a look at the 4-year trends for Walnut Cove, it's amazing the growth and the proficiency gains that have taken place over the last 4 years. And I think it's important to note the great leadership that was there prior to my arrival, and also the incredible teachers and staff and students and families that make that possible. The work that goes into that is significant. And the work that goes into sustaining growth over time and increasing that growth over time is the result of growth by those teachers and what they do in the classroom. And so coming in to start this school year, one of the first things that I did was ask one-on-one questions with teachers, have meetings. What is it that's great about Walnut Cove Elementary School, and what do we do extremely well? Working with the school improvement team to identify the strengths that already exist in the classroom, with instruction, with the way that we relate to students and with families. And part of these school improvement plan goals that we're going to get to are an intentional continuation of the great things that are already in place. One key component to this is that there was a 0% classroom teacher turnover rate from last year to this year. That's important because even though one teacher moved grade levels, those teacher teams were very stable. They experienced the growth. They were participants in the trainings. They took place. They participated in PLTs, and what they did in the classroom, there's consistency from last year to this year, and it produced great results last year. So as we looked at our performance, there was positive academic growth among all levels. Proficiency increases indicated that that growth resulted in proficiency gains. We also brought in new students from outside communities and successfully incorporated them, and that work continues. That work continues, being one Walnut Cove Elementary School family. There are already a lot of really successful procedures that are in place, policies that are in place, and importantly, activities that are in place that we are being very intentional about continuing. Whether it was data analysis and PLTs, team planning, and PLT training opportunities, we have academic teachers' assistants and academic support tutors paid for out of Title I funds to work with our students. And we have academically aligned field trips, specials club days. We have after-school clubs that take place to engage students in the school atmosphere. I say those things because that's what came out of those one-on-one meetings. What are the things that we have to hold on to? What do we need to sustain? And so those are a major priority. So what are the implications for the school improvement plan? Well, an intentional continuation of what has been successful, but how do we take the next step? How do we promote a growth mindset among our students and allow them to take ownership of their learning? Our teachers, we do not want them revamping what they did last year or the year before that. We don't want to have drastic changes to classroom instruction when they've shown such significant growth and improvement from year to year. So how do we take the next step? And the goal is to have our students, through our teachers' instruction, take more responsibility for their learning. And I'll get into those with our goals on the next slide. Our first school improvement plan goal is that all teachers build students' metacognitive skills, how they think about their thinking, how they think about where they stand with their learning. By teaching learning strategies and tools and their appropriate application, as well as providing students with processes for determining their own mastery. Okay, so what does all that mean, right? What that means is we're going to have students setting goals for their own growth. We want them self-questioning. We want them going through, we want teachers doing explicit modeling in the classroom and helping students think about where they stand. How can they grow from where they currently are? John Hattie has lots of identified ways that are successful in the classroom to instruct students, but also to guide students to think about their own learning. Those are areas that we're going to use. Concept mapping are examples of some of those explicit teacher modeling, using anchor charts and visuals and manipulatives and exemplars for students so that they can visualize connections within the curriculum. Those go up around the classroom as instruction's taking place. Building regular habits for reflection, journals, quick writes, exit tickets at the end of lessons to identify what students have learned within the lesson and also what are the continued areas of needed improvement. And also we have implementation of IXL as the new math diagnostic. That's in there because, very importantly, we utilize data to understand where students are performing. And with a new diagnostic tool, it's important for us to go through the training to best understand how to utilize that data to move our students forward. The second school improvement plan goal is all teachers will promote a growth mindset by attributing learning success to effort and self-regulation and insist upon and reward persistence to mastery. This looks like intentional, intensive help for diverse learners, students that are struggling. It also looks like normalizing struggle within the classroom. Persistence with difficult tasks is something that lots of students struggle with. Holding them accountable to the learning and making it okay to not get it right away is a strategy that we're implementing to help make sure students are sustaining that difficulty and working their way through it with teacher assistance and also so that they can see success on the other end of that struggle. We do that by showcasing mistakes as learning moments, having teachers utilize problems in the classroom that weren't exactly right. How did this lead you to a better understanding the next time? And being intentional about that. And lastly, by modeling and practicing coping and refocusing strategies. This moves beyond the academics into the behavioral realm, into the self-regulation realm, and helping our students with learning coping skills and self-regulation techniques so that when they become dysregulated, we can help move them to a place where they can get back under control, they can use breathing strategies so that they can remain focused and in the classroom where the learning is taking place.
Thank you. Ms. Bennett, any questions?
No questions, just that, you know, I like the one-on-one, and then also that, you know, if it's not broke, don't fix it. So if it's working, let's build on that. That's a good theory, I think. Yeah, I think you guys worked hard on that.
I think it's also important too, not to be the new man on campus and come in making changes
Right.
when I haven't had an opportunity to observe. And so these school improvement plan goals are developed by the school improvement team with my guidance. But it's teacher leaders that are making important choices at Walnut Cove Elementary School, and our school improvement team helps tackle significant problems when they arise. And working together with those teachers and holding those meetings and building that trust has been a very key component of this first quarter. And so the next step, like turning the corner, turning the page from goals that were in existence in the past, was important to take the next steps forward.
Yep. Thank you guys for your hard work.
Mr. Robertson?
When I look at the four-year trend, it's very impressive. And I see Dr. Thrower here in the audience tonight, and I do want to, and I understand that Dr. Thrower had a huge impact on this four-year trend, and I do want to congratulate her on what she was able to accomplish there at the Walnut Cove Elementary. And I do want to commend you on your attitude going in, and not going in and trying to change everything. And it's like Ms. Bennett said, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? And I think there's a lot of truth to that. It is on the right trend. It seems like things are going along good there. And no matter how good it is going, I think you can come in and you can always put your stamp on it a little bit and make some improvements, and hopefully take those numbers, next year's numbers maybe will be up a little bit more and keep improving it. There's certainly still room for improvement, but I think you were fortunate to follow Dr. Thrower and come into a school with the good culture that she had already created, and it lets you build upon that and hopefully have a very successful school as well. So I appreciate your hard work with it and your attitude going in, and I know you'll do a good job too, and we just look for continued improvement in the school. So thank you.
Yes, sir.
Duncan?
Yeah, I'll echo that. Just looking at the trends, I mean, and I know, kind of, as you said, new mat on campus, but I like what you said, about not going in and changing everything. I think that's part of leadership, is realizing, like, if it ain't broke, we can always strive to do better, right? And I think that's, everybody sitting here would agree that's the goal. I do appreciate you willing to embark on that journey. Appreciate Dr. Thrower and her leadership through those years. I mean, I look at both graphs here. I think the growth probably was out of at least the elementary schools. I mean, that's the largest growth. I like what you said about going one-on-one, because there's sometimes people will tell you something in a one-on-one setting, and when you're amongst everybody else, like, here's the facts, here's how it really is, right? And so I appreciate that. And I know that this school has as far as EC education and all those, what are you, or have you changed or modified in that area? Because I know that's a big population there.
For sure. Coming into the school year, our speech teacher went to a different school, and our EC resource teacher had gone to another school.
Mm-hmm.
And there had been a half-time EC resource teacher that was unfilled at the end of the school year, and so that was made into a full-time EC resource teacher. And so we now have a speech pathologist who started the school year with us but was new to begin the year. And we have 2 new EC resource teachers at Walnut Cove Elementary School.
Mm-hmm.
In our separate setting adaptive class and in our our developmental day pre-K classes, we have the same teaching staff. But it's important to note that what have we changed? Well, we've been very intentional in providing support to the new staff members that we have, and also very intentionally seeking out individuals who could be successful in those roles.
Mm-hmm.
The hiring and placement of staff is a critical component, and we had to start the school year with one of those vacant, but we were able to find a highly qualified individual with experience, and are very excited about the direction things are moving.
So you feel comfortable moving in that direction?
I do.
Okay.
I do. There's a learning curve, because one is a first-year teacher, and the other is highly qualified, but she has not been in elementary school before. But both of them are going to be great educators, and
Yeah.
I really believe that, and am happy with some of the things that I'm seeing in classrooms.
So, thank you.
Yes, sir.
I've got to find it humorous. Everybody's saying if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I'm sitting here looking at Mr. Vernon going, wonder what his English department and the literacy people would say about us saying ain't. Because I know what my English teacher would say, and she'd be, oh, that'd be ugly. But I commend you for, if it's not broke, trying to fix it. You've inherited a Lamborghini, and I see way too many things on YouTube where they test drive their Lamborghini right into a wall, and it looks like everything's still functioning extremely well at Walnut Cove. I look forward to seeing what this year pans out, because I know, as we saw at Nancy Reynolds and probably a little bit at Sandy Ridge, the combining of schools and the influx of new population last year, and we still saw tremendous growth, that now the new is off of the penny, and we can go ahead and start seeing greater things than we've ever seen before. And thank you.
Absolutely. Yes, sir. I think it was important. We say if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But I also believe it's very important to be intentional about what the great things were, to recognize those things and to lift those things up. The one-on-one meetings before I arrived were important, but the PDP meetings where I followed up with an additional one-on-one to find out, okay, so how's it going, were just as important. And making sure to identify those and sustain them is a key component to positive direction going forward.
Well, as Ms. Sprinkle proved at Pinnacle, little tweaks
Exactly.
on a almost perfect system will get you a little bit closer.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Board, up next, we have West Stokes.
All right, good evening, board. You can stay here for a second. We'll look at all of them, right? One of the things, one of my talking points tonight is going to be about consistency. Certainly, our grade level has stayed relatively consistent. However, you will see on our growth, our rate of growth has declined, which, if you know me, it's frustrating to a degree. If you look at how we're rated, you know, I make no excuses for it, but also with Math 3 and biology, they're not calculated into our school growth, and we had the highest growth in those two areas that we've had since I've been there. Our teachers have worked Math 3 proficiency and increased that 45 to 85% in the last couple of years, which is important, right? Like, I know growth is an important number to see and people want to see it, but proficient kids, making sure we're having proficient graduates at the end of the day is what we want. We want to grow kids. But certainly our rate of growth has slowed down. And so we're going to talk a little bit about that and what we're going to do about that now. We want to keep getting better. I know the term of don't broke, don't fix it. And there's a lot of truth to that. For us, we have to get back to our basics, I think, at West Stokes. The one thing I will say that I should have mentioned earlier, apologize for losing my place there, is that every subgroup at West Stokes High School meets or exceeds growth, right? Like, and so that I need us to really like hear that. I hope our community hears it and our staff hears it. It means whether you have a disability or you're AIG, right, and you're a student of color, whatever your subgroup is, our teachers are doing a great job of reaching those people, right, and to teaching to all the kids. The last we looked, we don't have a single teacher that's not in the MET growth categories. That means all of our staff are performing at or above state level or expectation levels, which is something I'm just very proud of. All right, what we're going to do about it. We've got to get back to the basics, I think, of what matters, and that's knowing where our kids are. I think our proficiency is going to continue to grow. I think Mr. Rose at Chestnut Grove is continuing to do a great job, so the kids are coming to us at a higher level. We can't keep doing what we've always done and expect the same results, right? I don't think we have to go in there and change everything either. And so what we've done is challenge our teachers to think about one self-reflective practice that they can do and to get better on. I think oftentimes we can get caught up in the number of things we do instead of simplifying it and making sure what we do, that we do it to the best of our ability. So we're looking at some of the Bloom's work and John Hattie's work with Dr. Nell. I started it last 2 weeks ago at our first PD session. Dr. Nell will be coming in October, and then we're going to be working through some peer observations that we'll assign. And really just trying to work on an individual basis. You know, at the high school level, we go anywhere from chemistry to a construction teacher. And so them sitting in a professional development session, it's hard to get really content specific. However, we can be very practical with our practices. And so we're trying to give them some freedom to be self-reflective and then support them that way. That's what, if that makes sense. So they're going to fill out the reflective sheet. We're really focus on what's the most impactful changes we can make. And then admin will assign them a peer observer to go see based off of what they feel they need to get better in, the areas they need to get better in. I'll also say that our staff is really, really good, and I'm blessed to work at West Stokes with them every day. We have made a couple of staff changes in Math 1 and English. Not wholesale changes, we do have some new personnel in there, and that's not because I don't think we tanked or anything like that. I want to make sure I'm clear on that. I think once you teach something for many years, sometimes it's healthy for a change, so we can maybe refresh some of the standards, make sure we understand the standards that are expected us to teach by the state of North Carolina. At the end of the day, that's what we're all challenged to do, is to know the standards and to have kids meet those standards. And so I've been there 5 years, and I told people we're kind of cleaning house this year, right? We've got cluttered. Every year you're there, you try to add something, you add something here, and it's like, you know what? Or what are we asking people to do? Let's get back to really like we know what impacts kids and what impacts learning. So let's get back to that. And it's kind of our theme of the year. What we need down the road, I would love to have another shop build one day, as our trades are absolutely exploding in numbers. Our FFA is up to, I think, around 45 kids. We're looking to add masonry next semester, so we'll have masonry, electrical, carpentry, and just spaces for those places to go. Foods classes, anything hands-on, our kids are absolutely, there's an interest in them, right? And they are eager to learn. I know that's a big ask, and the big thing about it is where we're heading. I firmly believe at West Stokes, those kids we have wonderful teachers in those positions, and but our numbers are growing, and the interest is there. And so that's kind of long-term. I know that's probably not something you can make happen real quick, but I want to plant that seed. Any questions?
Ms. Bennett?
I don't have any questions. Obviously, you know, like you stated, like it shows that you had growth, but you're like, okay, we can do better.
Right.
So I think that's the right attitude.
We were in the top 5%, our first year.
Yeah.
And then we dropped a little bit the second year, still exceeded last year.
Yeah.
Or then last year we met. And so making sure that, obviously we're not growing kids at the rate we need to, or we want to, I should say.
But I think getting back, like you said, to the basics
Sure.
and trying to keep it as simple, but still you can, achieve better.
Yes, ma'am.
I think that's a great plan.
Thank you.
Mr. Robertson?
Well, I think, first of all, congratulations on having such a great school. We hear all the time, how West Stokes really is a great school. And I know you have been a big part of that. And I know your competitive nature you want it to grow and you want it to be better every year. I don't know if Mr. Rose is helping you or hurting you.
He's helping us.
He may be sending the kids to you a little bit more prepared and a little less room for growth, but between the two of you, you're doing a great job there at both of those schools. And I have no doubt that those numbers will continue to improve. What's your graduation rate?
89.9%.
Yeah, so it's, there's always room for a little bit of improvement here or there, but, you've got a big school, you're doing a great job. Maybe we can talk about the ag building. I also was approached the other day, couple weeks ago, from a gentleman talking about your animal science. I think he helped build a fence for some animals at your school.
Yes.
And,
expanded animal sciences, looking at an ag mech class down the road. Just everything regarding, our agriculture and construction programs, a lot of options within that. We just got some versatile staff members between.
Yeah, and this, the gentleman said that there was a fee, maybe $20 a student for taking the class or something like that. He said he made 3 or 4 phone calls and he had raised enough money to make sure that all those students had their fees paid. And he told me, he said, I'm going to be on you now for the next couple of years, making sure that this class has got what they need. He's a cattleman, and he wants to see the program grow, and it sounds like that the community's really getting involved and doing a good job with it. And if there's something we can help with that and that side of it too, then we should kick in our part and help as much as we can. But good job, great school, keep it up, and just keep at it.
Yeah, I appreciate you being here tonight, and there might be some correlation between the middle school and when they come in there for that growth piece. I don't know if that's something to look into, but I mean, consistent is certainly a thing that you can tell in the trends. I like what you said about just getting back to the basics, knowing what everybody's responsibility is, right? And so I appreciate your leadership, and as far as you just taking ownership, and leading that. So appreciate your dedication and willingness to just continue to advance. And I think that's what all of our high schools are doing, but I appreciate you. Yep.
we'll call it the good, the bad, and the ugly. The good, Math 3 up 40% or 40 points, or an 88% increase. Is that right? That's a rocket ship, brother.
Yes, sir.
That's some stuff NASA couldn't launch that quick.
Yes, sir.
Doug, you must be turning out some mathaholics over there and, send them on, because that's more than commendable. So that's the good. The bad is the grad rate impacts. And that's not a bad on you. That's what people don't understand, all the factors that go into West Stokes graduation rates, correct? There are some external, it's not just the kids in the classrooms that finish and get their degrees. There are extra programs that have a lower than standard graduation rate. And I'm saying this for everybody out in YouTube land. And that is not a reflection on West Stokes. That is a reflection on the fact that they're able to maintain an 89% graduation rate with those other factors factored in. So that's to be commended also. Now, the ugly is, what can we do for you? And I mean, you're already coming up here asking for a new building.
I'll just give you some long-range thoughts of where we're headed.
Yeah. Could you come with a request for less than 7 figures? I mean, come on.
Yeah, I really do think it's just where,
If you don't ask, you'll never get it, and I applaud you for at least trying to see what West Oaks can do next.
sure.
Because every time you've been given something by the board, the community, it's turned into something that's unbelievable, and I applaud you. 40%, that's taking, a 40-point growth in math, that's taking hamburger helper and turning it into prime rib. That's just numbers I've never even seen, and I've been doing this 12 years. So for that, I applaud everybody on the West Oak staff because it is truly one team pulling together.
They are amazing people.
All right, thank you.
Chairman Roger, real quickly, I know that the administrators, one, thank y'all for being here. Y'all did a great job tonight. When asking what y'all needed, and one principal glanced over at me because she asked something last week and she didn't ask it tonight. But I'm going to say it for them, and I'm just going to ask you the question. There have been some budgetary restraints that we have had, in whether state budget's not coming through, some of the federal budgets being withheld, things being reduced. I'm going to listen to the question specifically. How many of y'all are excited about your tutoring budgets right now? How many of you would like to have them restored to previous levels or enhanced levels of tutoring budgets? So while they didn't come up and ask it, there has been a reduction, not from us as the central office, but in money that comes down for tutoring. And they're very worried because they're proud of what they've done, but at the same time, they attribute that to being able to help students in needs, and would like to continue those programs, and right now, there may be delayed later in the year than they've been in the past, or those type things. But that is something that is concerning all of us, and Ms. Moore and I, we're looking through our funds to see if we can find some more, but that is a concern that several have expressed. And y'all can express it. They're asking you questions. So
Hold on, we've got a return visit.
Well, I did want to respond, and I could have asked, and I probably should have asked. I did ask my appropriate supervisors, who I'm supposed to ask first, and I was giving them an opportunity to respond to me. And they haven't, so I was waiting. And so out of respect for them and what they do, and I was giving them that chance. But yes, tutoring is a huge part of what we do at Pinnacle, and I know what other schools do. We do tutoring during the school day. And we've been fortunate to have retired teachers be our tutors. And it would be hard for us to maintain the level of not only working with students that need remediation, but working with students that need enrichment. Because you've got both ends of that spectrum. And in order to continue growing, you've got to enrich. So while our classroom teachers can focus on, closing achievement gaps, our tutors can really come in and help us with growth. And that's a huge part of our school performance grade and what we do every day. So yes, our tutoring budget is pretty much non-existent this year, and that's of no fault of, Stokes County. That's other, fund sources that we just don't have this year. So, thank you, Dr. Rice, for bringing that up, and I apologize, and I did look at him when I was asked the question earlier, because I did think of asking, but I thought that would be disrespectful to him.
Well,
Because I didn't give you the
We have
opportunity.
started looking and trying to see what we can do. Again, a state budget would be wonderful at this point, but we are looking to try to meet that need sooner rather than later, but we're seeing what we can do.
Thank you, and thank you.
Well, in lieu of a state budget, bring us a figure, and we'll see what we can, we can't tax and grow money, but we've spent things on other things. As I start talking about spending money, Ms. Moore gets up, and I'm like, oh, she's coming after me.
She just knows she's next on the agenda.
I see it. Are you ready? Okay. And Dr. Rice is correct. I knew that was one of the things we would hear the most from the principals, just in conversation, would be concerned about their tutoring allotment. And when we come back to you after probably the next meeting or so to finalize our current expense budget, hopefully we will have the answer for that, and we can see how we can possibly make some of that work. But tonight, just want to kind of give a financial update for where we are with our state allotments. And in your packet, you will see the information that heads up state allotments. I've compared the 24-25 school year to the 25-26. And as you can see, that comes in dollars, that comes in months, and positions. And every one of these that's listed has a different rule and regulation that we have to follow. So you can see the increases and decreases. And in a lot of cases here where we've had an increase, it's not necessarily that we have additional money to spend, it's the fact that the retirement rates has increased from 24.04% to 24.67%, and the hospitalization rate from 8,095 to 8,500. So some of these allotments have allowed for those increases, not necessarily giving us additional funding. The allotment, it was based on our ADM and arrears. So these allotments that you see tonight are based on our first or second highest month ADM for the 24-25 school year. And that was based on 5,457. We have our first PMR, and for this year, which will affect allotments for next year, and it's at 5,337. So if our second month PMR comes in less, then it's possible we will see a decrease in allotments for our next school year. Just some information I thought might be helpful for you. From that, any questions about state allotments before we go on?
Any questions?
And you can see we still have a lot to be determined. Allotments are slowly dropping from the state. We've not received all of our allotments yet. There is not a state budget approved yet, so that's another reason we've not finalized the current expense. We've kind of been waiting to see if there should be salary increases, because if so, that would impact what we all need to do for the local current expense. So still some funding yet to drop from the state.
So, Ms. Moore, I do have questions about the positions, the 2.18 and the 1, and then the months. So make sure I'm understanding that they're not funding from a state level those two positions?
If you see it in the red and in the minus, that means that it's not, in that case, it's not being funded.
So are we picking that up?
So what we've
locally?
done, administration has done overall between lost positions or transfers and all that, basically, when you look at the cuts between the months and the positions here, we've balanced that out. I think overall, when we looked, there's like 5 positions less than what we had the previous year. So we've been able to maintain. We got a slight increase in low wealth, and that has helped us as well to try to pick up some additional funding there. So,
But for those classroom teachers, I mean, are we down 2 positions or?
from the state level, you would be.
But not from a?
Not, that doesn't
classroom.
necessarily mean that we would be short overall, based on if we can shift funds around to try to balance that out.
Got it. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, the next, I just put in your packet a copy of the current expense budget, and just as a reminder of what we're going to be looking at to possibly cut or have to appropriate fund balance to balance some of that off. So we will be coming back to you all since we've received most of the state allotments. At this time, I will say to you that a lot of our federal allotments will not actually allot until October. We have not received any word that we would be losing any federal allotments at this time as far as what's happened to the federal government. What we're having to do now, is since those allotments, and this is just happens every year, do not actually come or available to October, we have a lot of expenditures we have to put on local funds, and once those allotments actually are available to draw down funds, we have to move all that back to federal. So right now, to give you where we are on current, it would not be an accurate picture because a lot of the expenditures are going to be shifted back to federal in the next month or two. So we will be discussing current expense at another meeting. Also in your packet, I included an ADM history. The state had that information from 2004, and you can see where we stand from that point to 2025. And then the other information is our financial trend. This chart just kind of shows you all, the blue is your state, the gold is local, and the purple is federal. So when you look at the blue mark, you can see that we've actually increased each year in our state funds, and a lot of that would be too because of if there's been a salary increase, any additional supplements that they've approved at state level, but you can see we've actually not declined there. Then if you look at the gold, which is our local, you can see we've basically maintained, we had 21, we had a drop there, but we've kind of spanned back out and been equal now for the last few years. And then when you look at federal, you can see the peak in 2022, we went up, 23, we come down, 24. All of those changes there basically are due to the ESSER funding and what we received in those years, which we no longer have. You have any questions over this information? And like I said, additional information is going to be coming on current.
Any questions?
Dr. Rice, anything you need to add?
Any questions?
Thank you all.
Thank you. Discussion C, Pine Hall Elementary disposition.
Board, Ms. Bojack handed you a resolution from Mr. Johnson that he drafted from the past meeting. Sorry it did not get in your packet. We received that late. The question that I had, and the board can certainly have discussion on this, is the third paragraph. If you look at that at your place, it says, whereas it is the unanimous position of the members of the Board of Education that the Pine Hall Elementary School property should be used for a purpose that benefits the Pine Hall community and is acceptable to its residents. I know there was a lot of conversation about the purpose of the building, and I wanted to make sure if that was your wishes or not. I know we had talked about saying that the community input, and then it was kind of, I thought, backed off at the end of not having a stipulation, just whatever the sale is goes to that. But this is a resolution that he presented, and certainly we'll give you a chance to look at it, and we can make any edits and provide him with those edits.
Ms. Bennett, you got any comments?
Come back to me.
Mr. Robertson?
Well, I know we discussed it at the last meeting that, that we could transfer the property to the commissioners, and one reason behind that is it seems like from listening to the commissioners' discussion that they may have more resources where they can come up with more funding and help dispose of the building in a better way. And it's my understanding if we dispose of it, it's just basically put it out for bid and the highest bidder gets it. And that's kind of how we would have to dispose of it as a school board, and they may have a little bit more leeway in what they did with it. And it also says in the resolution that any profit from the sale or lease of the school or the building comes back to us, up to the school funds, what is affectionately known as the 4-cent fund. And I like that. I think my concerns are, I don't expect to see a lot of profit come back from the sale of the building. I just don't expect to see a lot of profit. I think they would work a deal whichever way, kind of like the disposal of the Francisco School, to where, you know, I hate to say it, but they pretty much gave it away in order for somebody to come in and improve it. And whether they benefited from that later on or not, I'm not sure. But I was approached by a few people in the past couple of weeks that have concerns about that whole situation. So that is on them, and that's not on us. I do like the fact that that they do have more resources and ways to dispose of it than what we might under law. So I've maybe not 100% happy with it, but we'll see what the rest of the board has to say about it.
Mr. Duncan?
To answer Dr. Rice's question, I would, I'm fine leaving that in there. I think that ensures that that community is involved. And I think as far as acceptable, you'll see that either in public forums, or you'll see it at the ballot box if they accept that. I know that we had talked, I think Mike had mentioned the 1 1/4 side of the 4 cent. I mean, do we have to specify that in depth to make sure that it doesn't go to the Forsyth Tech piece of that? Because I don't think they shouldn't have any say in that piece. I don't.
Well, this says it's coming back to the Board of Education for capital outlay purposes.
Yeah, I know, but I mean, I know that that's split, correct? Like with what Forsyth Tech gets versus that other.
They get 1 3/4% of 4%, but they have it doesn't fall under their Board of Education capital outlay. So
Okay.
they have, without putting the numbers in, they have put the terminology.
Okay.
Or
That was
Fred
my
has.
only question. Make sure that.
Is that it?
was in. Yep. that's it.
Okay, I'm gonna go back to my time in the military on how we read this, and I'm gonna rely on Ms. Pender. Pine Hall Elementary School should be used. In the military, should means it's highly suggested, but not requiring compliance, where shall or will would. Am I still reading that correctly, as we're suggesting that it should be, but shall is not that it's gotta be, right? So we're basically saying it should be used for it, but you can do whatever you want. We're just highly suggesting it. I just didn't know if that was legalese or just military logic, so. So with that being said, I'm good with it as it is. So we'll go back to you, Ms. Bennett.
Yeah, I mean, I
Okay.
think I'm good.
Does that answer your question, Mr. Robertson? Or are you good with it?
Yeah, I mean, it's not so much of a question. I think for me, it's just maybe a gut feeling
Okay.
as to how, you know, are we ever going to see any benefit from it? We're kind of giving it over to them for $1, and that's what, you know, some people have come to me that they just don't like the fact that they saw what happened with the Francisco School. And the Francisco School was disposed of to an individual, and basically, you know, the county never really, I know the school system didn't receive any funds back from it, the county didn't either. Now, the community, you know, I guess there's still a debate, did they get a functional building or not? It's a building that doesn't have a septic system, or not a good one, and so how much good it is to the community. You know, the gentleman that bought it did improve it, which I do appreciate. He did put a lot of money into it, so I think maybe there's a good part of that too. Did, you know, some of the commissioners benefit from all that? I guess that's, you know, that's open for interpretation.
Okay. Well, pending no further comments or questions, I'll entertain a motion to move it to action, or we can put it on consent for the next meeting, or does this have to be voted on individually? Okay. So I'll take a motion to move it to action, or we can table it. We'll put it on action for the next meeting, and it will automatically require adoption.
I would rather see it move to action for next meeting. It's only a couple weeks, and that way, if we do have some more public input from it, we'd have, after having a discussion about it here tonight, if the public wants to contact any of us and have more input on it, then they can certainly do that, so.
Is that good with you other two?
I would agree with that. And I know the commissioners, I don't know if they invited the Pine Hall community to their meeting, but. I
They
mean,
did. I think 3 people showed up.
Yeah, I mean, I know they're welcome anytime, but it would be, hear some input as well from them. But I do agree with, we should wait.
Okay. Please put that on action for the next one. Discussion of Meadowbrook pod offer. Mr. Roberts.
Good evening, Board. I wanted to inform you all that our district has received a written offer for the purchase of the pod at Meadowbrook. We have not advertised that up for sale publicly, but as you know, another school district had been interested in the pod at one time. They have recently let us know that they're no longer interested. The person that they hired to come out and give them a quote on the cost of moving the pod actually was talking to another acquaintance of his, and that person ended up being interested in the pod itself. So they have given us a written offer for $100,000 for the pod. They would take care of all associated costs with tearing down and relocating the pod. Mr. Johnson and I spoke this morning, and he did want me to emphasize that if the board were to decide to accept this offer in the future, we would immediately need to advertise for upset bids for 10 days. If a higher offer was received, we would need to re-advertise until we went 10 days without a higher bid offered. Does anyone have any questions?
No questions at this time.
Mr. Roberts.
I guess I would like to hear some input from Dr. Rice about what his thoughts for the property. I mean, that's, I know we had some discussion about maybe potential uses for it, and I know one was central office, moving part of central office there, and we've had some discussions, and I like central office being here. And I think maybe we've had that discussion some in the past, and I like it here. The commissioners have indicated that we're to vacate the building by 2029. I don't know that that would hold up in future commissioner boards, and I think the community would have a hard time if this building went vacant and went into disrepair. So I think it's a great place for us. It does need some work. It needs some improvements. I think it creates some hardship maybe on some of our staff if we move central office to the Meadowbrook site. So I do have a little bit of mixed emotion about it, but if we're not going to use it, I think we do need to dispose of it, and selling the pods is certainly a good way to do that. And I guess I'd ask Mr. Roberts, do you think the $100,000 is a good price on those pods?
I can't say for sure about a sale price. I know what new ones of that size sell for nowadays. It's about $530,000 for a new one that size.
But the people buying it would be responsible for moving it. We wouldn't touch it. Is that right?
That is correct. They'll come in, move it, put the axles, wheels under it, take the underpinning out, ramps off, everything. They'll take care of all the permitting. Actually, Mr. Johnson had me have them add something new to the contract. It's newer than actually the copy that you guys have, to cover that part of it, to guarantee that we are not financially responsible for any part of them moving it or permitting it.
And then we'd put it for upset bids, advertise it, so if there was interest in the we might could increase the price.
Yes, sir.
Dr. Rice?
Well, again, if the board's pleasure was to move the central office to, in light of the 2029 mentioned deadline, that would give us another place. But that is also 4 years from now. and that's us maintaining a building, trying to keep mold out of a building, trying to keep a vacant building up is difficult, and in 2029, again, there will be 2 different elections between now and then, and all of that, so, you know, again, I don't know that we keep a spare property for a 4-year deadline that may or may not happen. This is a reasonable offer that would only go up, and so I think it's definitely worth considering.
Is there anywhere, and I know we've really not talked about it, but to relocate this within the county to use for a different purpose, you know, other than moving central office there? And the reason I say that, if we were going to do something, we're going to spend, I don't know how much it costs to move, number one, but if we're looking at a new, I hate to get rid of it for $100,000 and then we wish we had that. Now we got to spend $500,000 somewhere for, was it 7 classrooms and restrooms? So I know that, I hate to get rid of it and then we need it somewhere else. So can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, well, this particular pod, as best we can tell, the history on it, it was bought under a lease agreement. We leased to own this back in the day, so to speak. And in my personal opinion, I think that any way we possibly can, we need to stay away from these kinds of structures.
Well, I agree, absolutely,
it's-
you're staying away from them, but if we needed to bridge a gap somewhere is what I'm looking at.
The cost of moving this particular pod is actually 9 sections. It's 7 classrooms, 1 restroom section, and a midsection that has to be moved. The guy that the other school district hired to initially take a look at it quoted them a little over $60,000 to move the structure. Then your underpinning, your ramping, which all has to be customized depending on where you put it,
Right.
heights and that kind of thing. Plumbing and electrical, permitting, all comes into play. So it's going to get expensive either way.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead, I'm done.
What is the age of those pods?
This particular pod is a 2012.
And is the pod, the roof and all, is that original to the building?
I can't say the roof 100% for sure is, but since I've been in control of things, we have not.
Is it a shingle roof?
No, sir, it's not.
Metal roof? or
No,
what?
it's a metal underlayment with a rubber top,
But more than likely, it's original.
probably. It looks like EPDM, but I'm not 100% certain.
So it would be not too long down the road, we'd have to replace the roof.
Yes, and you probably all know what kind of humidity issues come with these types of structures.
Yeah.
So
You
if,
sure it's a 2012 or 2012?
That's what our records say. I had to go back and look up some old records. That's as close as we can get to that model year.
Because I don't remember being on the, I was on the board then, and I don't remember us purchasing it.
We purchased, I believe this is one of the pods that we purchased for Nancy Reynolds when we made that move. One stayed at Pinnacle, one went to Meadowbrook, possibly.
I thought one went to early, I thought.
One went to early college, so I'm not sure when this one came into view. I know that.
Meadowbrook was already in existence at that point with a pod. When I got on the board in 2010, is the reason I'm saying that.
So I checked tax value today, and the tax value, or the appraised value of it, only shows that, it shows both structures being one. So it doesn't split them either.
Okay.
And if
Just
we-
for thought, I'm almost positive it's more than, older than 2010.
Yeah, I couldn't find a whole lot of records on this and everything, so I'll go back and continue to
How
research.
many pods are at the early college?
2.
And we bought two pods.
We did buy 2, but one I know went to Pinnacle. So one went to early college, one went to Pinnacle. That's my
And
way
there's
of.
2 at early college now, though, right?
Yes, it is. Yes,
So
sir.
that's the reason I'm thinking, I think that pod at Pinnacle went to early college for their second pod.
Okay.
that make the one at Meadowbrook older?
Yeah.
That would make it older, if that's the case, yeah.
If
But
that's the case.
like I say, we will research it some more. I'll try to find something else on that.
It doesn't matter. I mean,
Yeah,
we're
it's-
deciding, don't waste your time. Any other questions, Mr. Duncan?
This and the brick building's only two on site, right? This is,
No, there's actually a double wide on site as well. There's a double wide mobile unit on site.
The one to the right where they do day treatment,
that's right.
or
It's
used to day.
not a lot of value there.
And it's nothing, okay.
Are they gonna have to take the double wide out to get the pod out? Please say yes.
Can't say for sure.
Because they're gonna be responsible for moving the double wide out.
Oh, absolutely,
And
yeah.
dispose of
If they had to do that, yes.
Okay.
But these break down in sections, so depending on the room on each end,
We're hoping.
we're hoping. They don't have to, yeah.
Yeah, would
Yeah, we're hoping
they dispose of the double wide?
Would they
Would
dispose
they,
of?
if they have to move it, would they just go ahead and dispose of that?
I'm not sure. We would have to discuss that with them.
Okay. So at this point, it's a matter, do we move it to action or not? Or do you want to think about it, wait for Ms. Knight?
Yeah, I just wanted to bring it to your attention just so you could discuss if you wanted.
But you did say if we offered or agreed to this, there would be, we would then publicize that we did that, and you'd have, anybody could bid on it for 10 days.
That's correct.
And if it was $1 more, or is there a limit of, you get what I'm saying, because you could go back and forth for months.
That's, sounds like more of a question.
Legal counsel.
Is there a limit, is there an amount that they would have to go over?
Okay, Tim's.
She found that quicker than I could tell you what the weather is on my phone.
So there's stipulations.
Yeah, so there is a minimum there.
I think if we don't have it, if we're not gonna have a use for it, then it's not doing us any good just to keep maintaining it. I think Mr. Roberts and Dr. Rice probably both seem to think it is probably in our best interest to move it, to put it up.
So are you saying that in the form of a motion, or
I'll make a motion, we move it to action.
do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. That will be action item B, pod disposition. Okay, the next one is policy compliance, and it's one I added, and I have, or I think every board member at some point has emailed or texted Dr. Rice with what we felt were, in this case, dress code violations. And they seem to be continually happening, and I think it's time we establish that the board anticipates our policies to be followed. I mean, I know, I'm looking at Mr. Rose here because we worked hard on that dress code, did we not? You spent months trying to figure out what was appropriate just so that we could find it. Now, I realize it could be tough. And we were told, well, it's the first 2 weeks of school, we don't want to start sending kids home. But I sent you a text last week saying, and this was on one of the school's Facebook pages, and the shorts were nowhere near the fingertip length. And we're posting it on social media, so apparently we're not following it. So my question is, what does it take for the policies we set to be adhered to by faculty and staff? Because I have a strong feeling if a student goes into a classroom and said, I opted not to do that work, that's not gonna fly. If a teacher went to their principal and said, I opted not to teach this class, that's not gonna fly. If a principal went to you and said, I'm not gonna do that this year, that's not gonna fly. So at the end, it's us coming to you saying, it's gonna be fixed, or it needs to be fixed, or what do we need to do to fix it? This isn't a call, Dr. Rice. This is just we can't become compliant and say, this policy's good and this policy's bad, so we're gonna look at this one, not this one, or we can't enforce it, or we can't. So what's gotta be done? Because, and before we get into, Mr. Robertson, have you not had that same discussion?
I have. I've had people approach me, and I've seen Facebook posts, and even been in school before, been in schools where, students will walk by and you can tell they're not meeting dress code. And I was even in school one day and at the front desk and mentioned a student walked in and it was not meeting dress code, I could tell, and I mentioned it to the front desk person, and I'm trying to be vague about my statement here intentionally. And the response was, you'll have to take it up with somebody else. So I think sometimes it's, we don't want to rock a boat, and I get it, but at the same time, it can't be too blatant that, we just have, disrespect for our dress code. And I get it, that's kind of the culture, if you will, of today with young students and kids, and they want to wear what they want to wear, but at school we have to, we do have to kind of toe the line a little bit better and not be so blatant with our failures of our dress code. So I'm glad I'm not the one having to enforce it. I will say that. That would be, you're not going to be the most popular guy on the campus, but it is important, and some parents, some parents do complain about it, and I think we do need to show a little bit more respect on how we're dressing our kids and how we're sending them to school.
If I say, it's my understanding, I don't know how many pages in the handbook that everybody gets. Faculty, staff, students, parents, we all have to sign it, say so if it's, to your point, if we're not gonna go by it, then why have it in there? And so, what's the barriers that's, and the reason, to Mr. Robertson's point, of any staff member will take it up with somebody else. Well, are we not empowering the people that needs to enforce it, or is there some other thing that we need to do different? And it's not just dress code, but it's policy in general. If you're not going to go by it, then it's a waste of time and paper and effort on our part to put that in place.
And I would say that I'm not aware of a central office administrator reversing a decision on a dress code. The expectation is that we follow policy, we follow all the rules, all of that. I also know that we are outnumbered in our schools. I also know that students at times, when they get up to go through the halls, shorts may be rolled down, jackets may be zipped down, and then later they change. What a kid looks like at 8 a.m. may look different, at 10 a.m. may look different, at 2 a.m. And
At 2 a.m., we don't want to.
Well, 2 p.m., sorry. I've had a couple of 2 a.m. days. We try to catch a lot of things, and a lot of things, whether it's the vape sensors in the bathroom and all that stuff, students are smart, they're problem solvers, they try to get around things. You're saying that you heard somebody basically say, I don't enforce the dress code. I've never had anybody that blatantly say that to me before. When I've talked with our administrators, there's 2 secondary administrators sitting here that probably neither one of them want to walk to the microphone right now.
And nor would I ask them to.
But, it is difficult, outnumbered and a lot of times there's so many things you're dealing with as a staff person, sitting there to check, to see the links of everything. That might not be where my eye's going. When I'm watching a hallway and watching patterns and watching student interactions to make sure that they're not fighting, they're not going in the bathroom for too long, they're not doing all those things. You're concentrating on a lot. And so, do you see everything? No, you don't. But if there are people saying that they are purposely not following the dress code, I'd love to know who those are so we could address those people. But we can certainly increase an emphasis and let our administrators know that we want them and their staffs to emphasize this and to make it a point of emphasis. We can certainly do that moving forward. And if our administrators are having staff people say, we're not going to follow it, we're not going to enforce it, then we have other HR processes that need to be put in place for those people.
And if,
I think it's gonna cool down the weather this week, so that may restrict it, but I don't wanna have the same problem again in the spring. I have no doubt that if a student walked through, male or female, with a thong or a Speedo, somebody would say something. So at some point, I mean, it's not the dress code. It's not that hard to figure out. Mr. Rose, I can't remember, but was it your hand is extended and it's within one finger? You came up with, I mean, you spent like hours at our behest. And yes, if you don't mind, and I'm not calling him because he's in middle school. He was director of education and he helped draft the policy.
So before I go into that, another thing I would just like to say, we are addressing it. I've corrected the same kid sometimes 3 times with exactly what you are saying. The jacket is zipped up and on when they walk in. And as a male administrator, it is very uncomfortable to address that. I actually go to my staff member and say, would you please go correct that young lady? That is not uncommon at all for us to do. We left, basically it is listed as mid-thigh as far as the definition within the policy. And basically nothing can be exposed in between. In the way that we wrote that. So it is a little vague in your definition of mid-thigh, but, you know, obviously it addresses it to where we can address what seems inappropriate completely. But a lot of times when the kids walk in, they are appropriate. When they get out of sight, the jacket may come off, and then we have things like what you all are talking about within some of the posts that you have seen.
But once the jacket comes off, do they just stand in the hallway, or is the jacket off when they get into a classroom?
Well, I can speak for me. It gets addressed. Now, a lot of times something that I'm, you know, again, I like to have Ms. Glasgow or one of our female staff members address those young ladies to correct the dress code. But they know the expectation that that's not how we're going to dress.
but I think to your point with the vague description of mid-thigh, I mean, I don't think anybody on this board is asking to go and start fingertip, test, no. But I mean, you can tell what is inappropriate and appropriate based on just that vagueness. I mean, as far as the midsection, those kind of thing. And so part of that policy is discipline, right? I mean, if you're going to the same person multiple times, you should have reports of that, right? I mean, I think that's certainly something trackable.
Well, and I will say with the handbook that you all have approved, you have given us what we need in the dress code. It is a very appropriate dress code, and it's not a problem with the policy. And, I can only speak for our school. We are trying to address it and follow that policy. But, again, these kids are changing components of that daily. The clothes that they are wearing are fashionable. That's what's in the stores, and that's what parents are approving of them to wear at times. So, I mean, it gets a little sticky, but we do have to address it. You all have given us a policy that will do that. We just have to keep making our kids address it sometimes multiple times per day.
Do we need to put a policy in that has more teeth on the backside for violations?
Personally, I don't think so. I think it has the teeth.
It just needs to be enforced.
We can certainly make that a point of emphasis, reaching out to our schools and letting them know that this is a point of emphasis more, and we can certainly do that.
Yeah, I thought we did that before we started the school year, though.
Well,
I know, and I'm not asking you to come to the podium. I know I have heard that you addressed it with your and I'm pointing not to you, Dr. Jones, the original Dr. Jones. You addressed it with your students before the school year started, or at the beginning. So I think we're addressing it.
I'm just
I
asking
think
that
we have at every school at the beginning.
we reassert or reaffirm our commitment to that, because the school board as a, you're welcome, come on. Yeah, it's up to you. Out of respect to you, I wouldn't call either one of you. The only reason I called him was he helped dictate the policy in a previous position. We just want to make sure that it's followed, because, I mean, good Lord, it's showing up on, we're posting our own pictures on social media through school websites that show that we're blatantly ignoring the school board policy. Now, that's gonna really get you a lot of text from me, because that's our chain of command. So I'm assuming that you're sending them to whoever and they're sending it. So at some point, we're gonna stop with the text and we're gonna start with the carrot or stick.
I think a lot of similar, I'm going to compare it to the cell phone policy. Until it was made such a magnifying position on it, right? You have males, you have female teachers. I think that we're professional in how we address it. I do think that until we make it, is it what, make sure I use my words correctly here. The board, it's a focus for the board, right? And so he has communicated with us. I will say that it is a battle. People, what they come through the door with may not be what you see them at 10 a.m. with, or, after lunch. And I make no excuses about it. When you see it, you got to address it. I think that an administrator probably needs to utilize the teeth that we do have as far as the consequences more. Too often, it's probably, hey, go put on a jacket. One, it was mentioned of what is acceptable with society, perhaps, and what's acceptable with parents. And is it a disruption? Is it not a disruption? I'm not going to argue, but I think oftentimes we say, hey, just go put on a jacket so we can move on, right? Or we, hey, untuck your shirt, or whatever it may be, without formally addressing it. I think Dr. Rice has made it clear, and we're not perfect. I know I fail every day at West Stokes, but I think it's not going to get solved until it's a collective effort from staff, from teachers, and making sure they feel comfortable doing it, right? Because I've got 3 administrators with 825 kids, and we're not everywhere. And so I don't think it's a blatant, intentional defiance, right? I think it's easier to address once it's a public, this is going to be a focus of Stokes County schools, that maybe they feel more confident in addressing it as well. I don't think any of our staff members will look at me and say, I'm not doing that because I don't. It's just, I think it's such a part of society, and we're going to have to make a strong stance and a unified stance on that.
I think from our perspective, and I don't want to speak for everybody, but the acceptable ignorance that we perceive that we're not, that's just a hill we're not willing to die on, has to stop with that, because it's a hill we chose to fight on and generate a policy for. Now, I'm not saying that administrators are falling down, but it is a collective effort that it's gonna take. And there's a good chance, and maybe I'm out to lunch, that same student that you see at 10 o'clock that you're telling to put the same jacket on that you told at 8 o'clock, and at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, they still don't have the jacket on, maybe they need to go home for the rest of the day or spend some time in a lovely ISS room, and maybe the second time they just don't come back to school for a day, and then when mom and dad's gotta keep them at home and babysit them or account for what they do in their social life. We're not here to raise your children, but we're here with a dress code and a set of rules that we anticipate to be followed. It's that simple. So please just relay that message.
We will reemphasize that this week.
Yeah. And cold weather's coming, but it's gonna be spring and warm again soon. Okay. All right. Moving on to action then. Pod disposition.
Mr. Chairman, I'll tackle the motion. We'll make a motion that approval of the Meadowbrook pod disposal to Harvest Academy for the purchase price of $100,000. Pursuant to North Carolina law, seller is required to advertise the proposed sale of the property and allow for a statutory upset bid period.
That may be the best motion I've ever heard read.
Hard on that.
You did.
I'm overwriting it.
Does anybody have a second to that?
Somebody
lovely-
better say.
Second.
That was the easy part, wasn't it?
Thank you. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? So carried. Thank you. We have skipped over approval of personnel and coaching for a reason, because we have not gone into closed session to to review personnel and coaching. So with that, I will turn it over to information announcements and the junior Dr. Jones.
So I've got two things that I want to mention. One is our next work session, or excuse me, meeting, regular session will be held on the 20th of October at 6 o'clock. Board, there is a date I'd like for you to put on your calendar that's not listed. We'll be sure to add that for your packet next meeting. But the P-TECH Signature Schools Breakfast that's held annually at UNCG will take place on Thursday, December the 11th at 8:30 a.m. And more information will be forthcoming on the recipient for that award in Stokes County. So that's all I had. Thank you.
Okay. With that being said, pursuant to North Carolina General Statute 143-318.1.1A, 1, 3, and 6, need a motion to go into close for evening.
Make a motion, we go into closed?
Second.
Do I have all those in favor signify by saying aye?
Aye.
All right, we're in close. Thank you all for coming out. Appreciate your efforts.